Which grip on the forehand should you choose? Well, great answer. It depends. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the two grips that I think are great for club players up to world-class level, the grips that I don't like for the forehand, and of course all the things that your choice should depend on. So let's get going. I'll start with the Eastern and the semi-Western forehand grip because I think those are the two grips that club players have the easiest time to master and that are completely appropriate from beginner to, world-class level. Here's how you find all your grips. You have your two reference points, the underside of your index finger knuckle and the meaty part of your palm. And then you have bevels on your racket. So for righties and lefties, the number 1 is the top one right here. For righties then, you move over one bevel at a time to 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth, and then to the left for a lefty. For your Eastern forehand grip, these two checkpoints want to be both on the number 3 bevel. So it looks something like this. For your semi-Western, you move one bevel over to the right, or the left of course, as a lefty. And then for the full Western, you go to bevel number 5. Not that I would like for you to do that. For your good old Continental, you go to bevel number 2. If I have a newer player, I usually put him in the Eastern forehand grip. And the reason why I want to do that is they have to worry about so many other things than how to create massive topspin, get a high bounce. There's so many things that are going on in people's heads that the Eastern grip, to my mind, is the easiest for somebody who's newer to tennis. So the benefit of the Eastern forehand grip is that your contact point is really far in front. You can extend really well through the contact point. When you're swinging up and forward to contact, your racket face is already squared up to the ball, so you can stay in that strike zone a lot longer. The other thing that I really like about the Eastern forehand grip is that because I teach a Continental grip on the bottom hand for a two-hander, and most all of my clients these days have two-handed backhands, it's only one bevel that you have to shift. So if you're a little newer and you still have kind of trouble with finding the proper grip, a smaller movement with your hand, a smaller turn, it makes it so much easier to come from an Eastern forehand grip to your Continental grip on the bottom hand for your backhand. Of course, more advanced players, world-class players, think Roger Federer, are using an Eastern forehand grip. So if you're playing more regularly on faster surfaces that don't have a huge high bounce, then an Eastern grip is really good. The other thing, the contact point here in front makes transitioning to net a lot easier. So very aggressive game styles also like the Eastern grip. However, that doesn't preclude a semi-Western, of course. One of the reasons why more extreme grips have developed, and I'm going over the semi-Western, which is the second I find appropriate grip, and then of course the full Western grip, which I do not like at all, is that the game has completely changed. Think about that. 35 years ago, 3 Grand Slams were played on grass. Now only 1 is played on grass, and even there they slowed the bounce down. The bounce is way higher, even from when I played. So we're now consistently playing on more surfaces that have higher bounces. The second factor for these more extreme grips is that the technology has changed completely. 35 years ago, a racket was, 800 gram? I'm exaggerating, of course, slightly, but they're now lighter. The technology is much better. The strings, of course, they allow us to swing as fast as humanly possible. But you have to do one thing to still keep the ball in play, and that is add topspin. So if you're a little bit more of a baseliner style counterpuncher, you're not necessarily coming into net a whole lot, and you want to create a whole lot of topspin and adapt to topspin, that more and more players are playing heavier and heavier, the semi-Western is a great option because it makes it a little easier to make contact now about chest and shoulder height. To my mind, the semi-Western is not extreme enough that it's a detriment on lower balls. On lower balls, if you do have a semi-Western, you just got to work a little harder than with an Eastern forehand grip to get under the ball. But to me, that's more a footwork issue rather than a grip issue. Now, before I get to the Western grip, because have I mentioned that I don't like the full Western grip at all, I'm actually going to go over the Continental grip, not for a regular forehand. Because if you had a Continental grip, your contact point would be more to the side and it's comfortable lower. Think back 30, 40 years ago when the bounces weren't as high. So to control a ball that's a little higher, Continental is difficult. But if you want to improve, if you want to develop your game, you have to have a slice forehand because you can play defense, you can be stretched, you can still block, you can use it to lob, and you can use it as a tactical measure, not just on your backhand, to throw your opponent off rhythm because you're messing with the spin, the speed, the height, the depth, and to my mind, I have a much easier time creating angles with the slice. And also don't forget the drop shot. Think about Carlos Alcaraz. He's really good. Or Marketa Vondrousova. They drop shot with the forehand all the time. Now, how you go out and design a game plan depends, of course, on what type of player you're playing, but it can also depend on what grip somebody has. So I'll go over the drawbacks for the full Western grip a little later, but there are a bunch of plays in here in the singles playbook by Fuzzy Yellow Balls that you can use to expose the weaknesses that a certain grip will give to your opponent. So I'm going to pop the link down below in the description, and it's a really simple tool that you have at your disposal. I like just using my cell phone or my iPad, hover over the QR code, and you'll get the full description of the move that will win you more matches. I was taught actually in a Continental grip, but that was 1974. I quickly changed to an Eastern forehand grip, but then I actually kind of moseyed over to an in-between of an Eastern and semi-Western, but there is no way on earth that I would ever get into a full Western. And you can let Iga Swiatek, Garbiñe Muguruza, and Karen Khachanov, let them hit them, because they can adjust, but even they have issues, and that's why it's such a bummer that Ash Barty retired, because I would love to see the duel between her backhand slice to Iga Swiatek's forehand. For a club player, I do not recommend this grip. Too many drawbacks. Number one, at higher levels, people can reliably pull you out wide. With this kind of grip, it's really difficult to get wide and get out to the ball and still control it really well. If somebody slices to your forehand, with this, really difficult. If you play somebody with that extreme of a grip, slide them out wide. Slide them out wide on the serve, pull them out wide with angles. Slice to that extreme grip. Side note for parents, if you have a kid 12 and under and you or your coach are using yellow balls, you might set your kid up for a limitation later in their tennis career. Little kids, when the ball is really high, and of course adults too, they start to adjust to higher balls with this grip. And they will not grow into a proper grip. That's just not how it happens. They will stay in this grip, and later on, they will have huge issues. So make sure that you or the coach that's coaching your kid are using age-appropriate balls. They have lower bounces, and they actually further really, really good technique. Are you ready to hit some balls now on the forehand? Of course, duh. If you want more control, more power, more topspin, check out this video. No crazy grip changes.